Hi guys, does Andy Burnham want to lead the Labour Party, or does he just want to steer it in a different direction? So according to this article from the BBC, it says, "Don't underestimate peril for Labour, says Burnham." Andy Burnham has warned against underestimating the peril the party is in at a fringe meeting at the Labour Party conference. The Mayor of Greater Manchester continued his criticism of Sir Keir Starmer's leadership at events at the Liverpool conference, telling audiences that he would not shy away from debate on Labour's future. Despite a backlash from MPs, Burnham said Labour should not be narrow and shallow, adding that there was too much of a climate of fear. Now, this is because Labour is trailing Reform in the opinion polls, indicating potential losses in the Welsh Senate and local elections in May next year. Now, it goes on to say in the article, plenty of Labour MPs think Burnham has gone too far in the past few days, although many recognise the opinion polls paint a gloomy picture for Labour and the Prime Minister himself. But those who hoped Burnham would rule out a future leadership bid have been disappointed so far. Now, I think Andy Burnham is not going to run for leader of the Labour Party at the moment, because he's in a position where he already has a job and he would need a safe seat in Parliament. Now, none of those things are happening, but it could happen in the future. If he feels that there is significant support for him to be leader of the Labour Party, to challenge Keir Starmer, then perhaps there would be a group organised that could pressure the party, at least pressure the MPs, to back a leadership challenge. Now, there are a number of other obstacles, of course, for Andy Burnham, apart from not being an MP and still having a job. The NEC, the National Executive in the Labour Party, is stacked with people who support Keir Starmer. So they would have to be convinced that Keir Starmer is not up to the job and it's time for a change. And so far, they have backed him to the hilt. So there's no chance, at least in the short term, of Andy Burnham taking over as leader of the Labour Party. Now, once again, this could change following the Welsh elections next year and the local elections in England as well. And what's happening in Scotland, of course, could have an impact on whether Keir Starmer remains as Labour leader. Now, when it comes to pressuring the Labour Party, well, Andy Burnham has not shied away from doing that before. So he has been extremely critical of Keir Starmer's leadership. He has criticised the direction the party has been in, both privately, it seems, and publicly. So there's a real challenge for the government here. Do they listen to people like Andy Burnham, who are extremely popular, who have a great following, who are viewed as charismatic and perhaps a future leader of the party, or do they ignore him? Now, it seems to be at the moment they're ignoring him, they're sidelining him, they're not following what he has to say. But if more and more MPs call for Starmer to go or call for some sort of change in direction, I think you're going to see a lot more of Andy Burnham. Now, I keep saying that the Labour Party have to take stock of the situation, not focus too much on reform and what's happening in the polls. They need to focus on what they're doing themselves. They have to improve the situation for ordinary people and communicate that to them, because voters will vote for or against the incumbent. So don't focus too much on opinion polls at the moment, because it's a snapshot of now and we don't know what's going to happen a week from now, never mind 3 years from now. So don't focus on that. Focus on what you're doing. Improve the situation and communicate that you have done that. But also work with people like Andy Burnham, because instead of picking fights with him or trying to sideline him, it could be valuable to the Labour government to bring him on board in an unofficial way. Have a listen to what he has to say. Perhaps implement some of the policies that he's pushing, because they're popular with the public. They're popular with people in Greater Manchester, and they'll be popular with the general public as well. So Andy Burnham is not somebody that the Labour Party should sideline. He should be somebody brought in as a sort of unofficial consultant, I think. Because if they ignore a growing anger within the party and someone like Andy Burnham, I think they're going to find themselves in a bit of a mess a few years down the road. So the focus has to be on improving the lives of ordinary people, communicating that. When it comes to Farage, call out Farage on what he's doing. Don't refer to him as a racist or use labels. Criticize what Reform are doing at the local level. Point that they're being tested and that they're failing on every measure. Talk about how they're corrupt. Talk about the connections to Putin. Not so much about being a Putin puppet, but talk about the connections, because there are stories about that in the media at the moment. So there's a lot of ways. There are a lot of ways that Labour could attack Reform, as opposed to just using slogans and insults. Attack on connections to Russia, connections to the fossil fuel industry, corruption, how much money is going into that party, where is this money coming from, who is donating to Reform UK, and obviously what do they want in return. This all has to be exposed, and then you'll eat away at some of their support. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.